Shashi Deshpande is one of the eminent novelists of contemporary Indian literature in English. Western readers align her with Anita Desai. Indeed, both writers' work centers around women's lives in modern Indian society. However, only Deshpande lives and writes in India, and she explicitly addresses Indian readers, not the international marketplace. Deshpande was born in 1936 in Dharwad. She is the younger daughter of the Sanskrit scholar, novelist, actor, and dramatist R.V. Jagirdar and his wife Sharda Arya. Under the name of Adya Rangacharya and also under the pseudonym of Sri Ranga, he published a huge literary oeuvre that includes translations of Sanskrit plays. He enjoyed great success and fame. His work has become part of the national Indian heritage. Deshpande grew up in a family that belonged to the upper middle class, and so does her own family. She was given the typical education at a British convent school, moved on to Bombay University and studied economics and political science, took a second degree in law in Bangalore, had a first job with a lawyer, then a law reporter. Finally, she was by then married with two sons. She added a degree in journalism and topped that with a Master of Art. In 1962, she married Dhirendra H. Deshpande, a medical doctor. The couple settled in Bombay, where her husband took up work as a pathologist at GS Medical College. In 1968, they went to London for a year. In 1970, they moved on to Bangalore, where they settled for good. Their son Raghu also lived there too until his early death in 2017. Their son Vikram now lives in the US. Writing did not come to Deshpande as a conscious decision. She had two children, no career. She got restless with being just a housewife and mother. In England, she felt isolated with no friends and her husband away all day. On their return to India, her husband encouraged her to write about this experience. 1972 saw her first short story, The Legacy. Many more were to follow. Her father advised publication, otherwise, the stories would get lost. Thus began a career that would make her a name in India and beyond. Her father had taught her Sanskrit. She also speaks Marathi and Kannada, is well versed in the huge realm of Indian mythology, which she reads against the grain from her own feminist position. But she writes in English. Her English schooling and her reading that has taken her through the better part of English literary history will add to the subtexts of her own texts. The web of her main text, however, is woven from Indian women's lives, their day to day living, deeply impregnated by religious, social, and political traditions, and gender relations determined by male power structures. Her to date 11 novels, children's books, two long stories, and many short stories rest on the complexities of tradition and modernity, a tradition that does not go unquestioned in Deshpande's work. Deshpande creates figures that take her readers through the social strata of urban society. But her interest comes to center more and more on women of the middle and upper middle classes, well educated women who fight for their own space, for their place in the family and in the social and their cultural setting. This setting is the backdrop of her stories. Action remains private, even with rape, which is, after all, private only to a certain degree. With the first published novel, The Dark Holds No Terror, she introduces this painful topic that had already been there as marital rape in one of her early stories, The Intrusion. Later follows it up in The Binding Wine and in Shadow Play. Deshpande's novel, That Long Silence, of which she says that it is her most autobiographical one, makes silencing by the family and by society its main topic. It is, as she has said, a loud shriek of despair. The main figure, however, manages to break the silence and to speak out, achieving agency. The novel has come out in English in Britain but was translated into Hindi, Marathi, and Kannada, which shows not only the impact of the linguistic diversity of the subcontinent but also the status Deshpande has by then achieved. The themes and topics, the cultural contexts of her novels seem to reflect Deshpande's own family and its cultural setting. There is literature, Indian myths, traditional Indian music, medicine, an intimate or at least a close relationship to her father, all of this being part of the fabric of a matter of time, small remedies, moving on, and most directly of strangers to ourselves. Deshpande's novels are family novels, family in their generational unfolding, in their ramifications, is the groundwork of the novels. Its intricacies, by the way, are more easily understood by if readers, in particular Western readers, take to paper and pen and draw a family tree. The complexities of this groundwork are not just family complexities, they are also the complexities of memory, and it is this that women shape as it has shaped them, that they experience and that they leave behind through divorce or through separation. Women in Deshpande's texts are not simply victims of circumstance, of family, of society. Over the decades that Deshpande's work embraces, they have come to stand out as self assured, self empowered, articulate personalities. They leave behind limits and limitations, hurt themselves against and cross barriers and conventional norms. The family figure in the country of deceit enters into a relationship with the married man. They are men who rape women, who are despots but also remarkable men, lovers, husbands, and fathers. Deshpande is very much a political person. Witness her many essays, articles, written interviews, most of all her book, Writing from the Margin. Is she a feminist? Not as a follower of the Western second women's movement, but from her own experiences that have formed her. Reading Western feminists has not shaped but added to and confirmed her own convictions. For her political convictions, she also goes public, not only by attending public meetings, example, that on gender and censorship. In 2015, after the murder of a Kannada professor and writer, she stepped down from the Sahitya Academy Council, protesting the Academy's silence over growing intolerance in the country. She had been an honored member of that Academy, just as herself and also her own father. Awards and accolades have not been missing in Shashi Deshpande's career, neither have they spared her devastating reviews. In an interview, she talks about such soul-destroying criticism and wonders how young writers could cope with it. At the same time, translations of her work into regional languages show the high esteem that she has come to enjoy. There is also this. In 1997, the first Indian female director, Prema Karanth, turned her novel The Dark Holds No Terror into a film. In 2017, HarperCollins optioned the film rights for Strangers to Ourselves to be directed by Hansal Mehta.